Lest Darkness Fall continues as read by the bathroom reader. I am covering for the Plurality Report, who has since journeyed west to Siberia to discover the secret of the Lake Baikal swimmers. Chapter 6. Junianus, construction manager of the Roman Telegraph Company, panted into Padway's office. He said, "Work," stopped to get his breath, and started again. "Work on the third tower on the Naples line was stopped this morning by a squad of soldiers from the Roman garrison. I asked them what the devil was up, and they said they didn't know. They just had orders to stop construction. What, most excellent boss, are you gonna do about it?" So the Goths objected. That meant seeing their higher-ups. Padway winced at the idea of getting involved in any further politics. He sighed. "I'll see Leudaris, I suppose." The commander of the Rome garrison was a big, portly Goth with the bushiest white whiskers Padway had ever seen. His Latin was fair, but now and then he cocked a blue eye at the ceiling and moved his lips silently as if praying. Actually, he was running through a declension or a conjugation for the right ending. He said, "My good Martinus, there is a war on. You start erecting these, mysterious towers without asking our permission. Some of your backers are patricians, notorious for pro-Greek sentiments. What are we to think? You should consider yourself lucky to have escaped arrest." Padway protested. "I was hoping the army would find them useful for transmitting military information." Leudaris shrugged. "I am merely a simple soldier doing my duty. I do not understand these, devices. Perhaps they will work as you say, but I could not take the, responsibility for permitting them." "Then you won't withdraw your order?" "No. If you want permission, you will have to see the king." "But, my dear sir, I can't spare the time to go running up to Ravenna." Another shrug. "All one to me, my good Martinus. I know my duty." Padway tried guile. "You certainly do, it seems. If I were the king, I couldn't ask for a more faithful soldier." "Oh, you flatter." But Leudaris grinned, pleased. "I regret that I cannot grant your little request." "What's the latest war news?" Leudaris frowned. "Not very, but then I should be careful what I say. You are a more dangerous person than you look, I am sure." "You can trust me. I'm pro-Gothic." "Yes?" Leudaris was silent while the wheels turned. Then, "What is your religion?" Padway was expecting that. "Congregationalist. That's the nearest thing to Arianism we have in my country." "Oh, then perhaps you are, as you say. The news is not good. What little there is nobody in Brutium but a small force under the king's son-in-law, ever move. And our good king—" He shrugged again, this time hopelessly. "Now look here, most excellent Leudaris. Won't you withdraw that order? I'll write Theudahad at once, asking his permission." "No, my good Martinus, I cannot. You get the permission first, and you had better go in person if you want action." Thus it came about that Padway found himself, quite against his wishes, trotting an elderly saddle horse across the Apennines toward the Adriatic. Fritheric had been delighted at first to get any kind of a horse between his knees. Before they had gone very far, his tone changed. "Boss," he grumbled, "I'm not an educated man, but I know horseflesh. I always claimed that a good horse was a good investment," he added darkly. "If we are attacked by brigands, we'll have no chance with these poor old wrecks. Not that I fear death or brigands either, but it would be sad for a vandal knight to end in a nameless grave in one of these lonely valleys. Why, when I was a noble in Africa—" "We aren't running a racing stable," snapped Padway. At Frithoric's hurt look, he was sorry he had spoken sharply. "Never mind, old man. We'll be able to afford good horses someday. Only right now I feel as if I had a pants full of ants." Brazilian army ants, he added to himself. He had done almost no riding since his arrival in old Rome, and not a great deal in his former life. By the time they reached Spoleto, he felt as if he could neither sit nor stand, but would have to spend the rest of his life in a sort of semi-squat, like a rheumatic chimpanzee. They approached Ravenna at dusk on the fourth day. The city in the mist sat dimly astride the 30-mile causeway that divided the Adriatic from the vast marshy lagoons to the west. A faint sunbeam lighted the gilded church domes. The church bells bonged, and the frogs in the lagoons fell silent, then resumed their croaking. Padway thought that anyone who visited this strange city would always be haunted by the bong of bells, the croak of frogs, and the thin, merciless song of the mosquitoes. Padway decided that the chief usher, like Pooh Bah, had been born sneering. "My good man," said this being, "I couldn't possibly give you an audience with our Lord King for 3 weeks at least." 3 weeks. In that time, half of Padway's assorted machines would have broken down, and his men would be running in useless circles trying to fix them. Menandrus, who was inclined to be reckless with money, especially other people's, would have run the paper into bankruptcy. This impasse required thought. Padway straightened his aching legs and started to leave. The Italian immediately lost some of his top loftiness. "But," he cried in honest amazement, "didn't you bring any money?" Of course, Padway thought he should have known that the man hadn't meant what he'd said. "What's your schedule of rates?" The usher, quite seriously, began counting on his fingers. "Well, for 20 solidi, I could give you your audience tomorrow. For the day after tomorrow, 10 solidi is my usual rate. But that's Sunday, so I'm offering interviews on Monday at 7.5. For 1 week in advance, 2 solidi. For 2 weeks..." Padway interrupted to offer a 5 solidi bribe for a Monday interview, and finally got it at that price, plus a small bottle of brandy. The usher said, "You'll be expected to have a present for the king too, you know." "I know," said Padway wearily. He showed the usher a small leather case. "I'll present it personally." Theudahad Tharasman's king of the Ostrogoths and Italians, commander-in-chief of the armies of Italy, Illyria, and southern Gaul, premier prince of the Amal clan, count of Tuscany, illustrious patrician, ex officio president of the circus, etc., etc., was about Padway's height, thin to gauntness, and had a small grey beard. He peered at his caller with watery grey eyes and said in a reedy voice, come in, my good man. What's your business? Oh yes, Martinus Padway. You're the publisher chap, aren't you, eh?" He spoke upper-class Latin without a trace of accent. Padway bowed ceremoniously. I am, my Lord King. Before we discuss the business I have...
Great thing. That bookmaking machine of yours. I've heard of it. Great thing for scholarship. You must see my man Cassiodorus. I'm sure he'd like you to publish his Gothic history. A great work. Deserves a wide circulation.
Padway waited patiently. I have a small gift for you, my lord, a rather unusual.
Eh? Gift? By all means. Let's see it.
Padway took out the case and opened it. Theodahad piped.
What the devil is that?
Padway explained the function of a magnifying glass. He didn't dwell on Theodahad's notorious nearsightedness. Theodahad picked up a book and tried the glass on it. He squealed with delight.
Fine, my good Martinus. Shall I be able to read all I want without getting headaches?
I hope so, my lord. At least it should help. Now, about my business here.
Oh, yes. You want to see me about publishing Cassiodorus. I'll fetch him for you.
No, my lord. It's about something else. He went on quickly before Theodahad could interrupt again, telling him of his difficulty with Leodaris.
I never bother my local military commanders. They know their business.
But my lord, and Padway gave the king a little sales talk on the importance of the telegraph company.
A money-making scheme, you say? If it's as good as all that, why wasn't I let in on it at the start?
That rather jarred Padway. He said something vague about there not having been time. King Theodahad wagged his head.
Still, that wasn't considerate of you, Martinus. It wasn't loyal. And if people aren't loyal to their king, where are we? If you deprive your king of an opportunity to make a little honest profit, I don't see why I should interfere with Leodaris on your account.
Well, my lord, I did have an idea.
Not considerate at all. What were you saying? Come to the point, my good man. Come to the point.
Padway resisted an impulse to strangle this exasperating little man. He beckoned Fritheric, who was standing statuesquely in the background. Fritheric produced a telescope, and Padway explained its functions.
Yes. Very interesting, I'm sure. Thank you, Martinus. I will say that you bring your king original presents.
Padway gasped. He hadn't intended giving Theodahad his best telescope, but it was too late now. He said, I thought that if my Lord King saw fit to, ease matters with your excellent Leodaris, I could ensure your underlying fame in the world of scholarship.
What's that? What do you know about scholarship? Oh, I forgot. You're a publisher. Something about Cassiodorus?
Padway repressed a sigh. No, my lord, not Cassiodorus. How would you like the credit for revolutionizing men's ideas about the solar system?
I don't believe in interfering with my local commanders, Martinus. Leodaris is an excellent man. Well, what were you saying? Something about the solar system? What's that got to do with Leodaris?
Nothing, my lord. Padway repeated what he had said.
Well, maybe I'd consider it. What is this theory of yours?
Little by little, Padway wormed from Theodahad a promise of a free hand for the telegraph company in return for bits of information about the Copernican hypothesis, instructions for the use of the telescope to see the moons of Jupiter, and a promise to publish a treatise on astronomy in Theodahad's name. At the end of an hour, he grinned and said, Well, my lord, we seem to be in agreement. There's just one more thing. This telescope would be a valuable instrument of warfare. If you wanted to equip your officers with them...
Warfare? You'll have to see Witigius about that. He's my head general.
Where's he?
Where? Oh, dear me. I don't know. Somewhere up north, I think. There's been a little invasion by the Alamans or somebody.
When will he be back?
How should I know, my good Martinus? When he's driven out all these Alamans or Burgons or whoever they are.
But, most excellent lord, if you'll pardon me, the war with the Imperialists is definitely on. I think it's important to get these telescopes into the hands of the army as soon as possible. We'd be prepared to supply them at a reasonable...
Now, Martinus,
snapped the king peevishly,
don't tell me how to run my kingdom. You're as bad as my royal council. Always, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I trust my commanders. Don't bother myself with the details. I say you'll have to see Witigius. And that settles it.
Theudahad was obviously prepared to be mullish, so Padway said a few polite nothings, bowed, and withdrew.